This episode is brought to you by Playapod, the best cross-platform podcast app for iOS and Android. Just visit playapod.com and download it for free.
Hey there, listeners. Thank you so much for downloading this episode. In this show, you will hear me recap my harrowing experience with a follow-up to my mammogram last month. Also, Paula still can't seem to get a physical from her doctor. That, along with our ugly and awkward moments and a little Super Bowl talk. Thanks so much for downloading.
It's another uncensored look at the world around you, from sisters who will say just about anything to anyone at any time. It's the Uggs. Jamie?
Just let me be crazy, okay?
Paula?
I want to get naked, and I want you to look at me.
Uncensored as always, it's time for the ugly truth.
Welcome to The Ugly Truth. It is episode 250. Ugh! Ugh! Man, that was a weird...
Yours was like a shout.
I don't know what that was. I didn't have any trill in my throat. Episode 250. According to producer Deb, that's a really big deal to him. That we have gone through 250 episodes because, you know, we are some of the most flakiest people when it comes to commitment, and so he was very proud of us for getting to episode 250. So congratulations, Ugg. We are being responsible podcasters. Responsible baby podcasters.
Yay!
Woohoo! So welcome to The Ugly Truth. I'm Jamie with my sister Paula, and we are here to talk about our lives and our weird opinions of things. And as Daryl always tells me all the time, he's like, no one thinks the way you do. No one! I'm like, I think you're lying. I think there are, because my sisters get me.
Yeah.
They practically read my mind. So I'm not the only one that thinks differently. All right. So this episode is dropping on a Sunday. We are going to have a Valentine's Day episode on Wednesday. And we have a whole slew of Valentine's Day subjects on Wednesday. I can't wait to delve into that next week. But this week, I want to talk about boring medical stuff. Okay, so last week I told you about how I got it was a couple weeks ago when it happened, but I got some news from my doctor, and my body immediately wanted to evacuate my bowels because I was under such duress. Had it been later in the day and I had had breakfast, I probably would have vomited, but because I hadn't eaten in like 12 hours, I literally lost bowel control and had to run to the bathroom because I had had a mammogram earlier in January. And it was weird because I told Daryl, I said, and I told you this when we talked about it, that when I left, the lady that's been doing my mammograms for 4 years said, all right, well, have a great day. She did not give me the usual, well, I don't see anything pressing here, so, you know, I think everything's going to be fine. If they call you, you know, don't be surprised. But she didn't give me that spiel this time. And so when I got home, I said, I'm afraid they're going to call me back for more tests. I think something is wrong. And he's like, no, you're just anxious because, you know, having breast cancer is probably like number one on my list of fears. And so I said, all right. So a week and a half went by. And on Monday morning, 2 weeks ago, my doctor calls me at 8 a.m. Hi. I just wanted to let you know that I got the results of your mammogram, and it looks like there might be something in your right breast that they want to kind of get a look at again, but don't lose any sleep over it, is what he said. This is very common. And I'm thinking, what? You should have opened with that because now I'm barely able to speak. I'm completely full of anxiety and trying not to cry that I think... And I'm like, all right, okay, all right. He's like, he goes, Jamie, please don't lose any sleep over this. But have they called you yet? And I said, no. He said, okay, well, I got the report on Friday after hours, so I'm calling you this morning to let you know that you're going to get a call for them to schedule you for a second look at your boob. He didn't say boob. And I said, all right, if he did, that would be funny, but no. And I said, all right. I had to hang up because I was starting to cry.
Yeah.
So it took me 2 hours after I had explosive diarrhea. It took me 2 hours to go downstairs to tell Daryl that I was right, that I have to go back for a second check. They found something. And so I went downstairs and I'm all cool and everything. And he goes, what's going on? I'm all, and I just like lost it. He's like, oh my God. He like freaked out. You know how guys, they look at a mess and they put their hands up. They're like, I don't know what to do.
Right.
That's kind of what happened. And he goes, honey, you're going to be fine. I'm like, you don't know. The problem with abnormal mammograms, or even pap smears probably, for women anyway, is that the window of possibilities is so vast. It could be nothing. It could be a yeast infection or cancer.
Right.
And that's how women's bodies are. There is no... oh, it's probably nothing. You can say that to yourself, but there's always a teeny tiny voice in the back of your head going, yeah, but it could be something. That's the problem. So I got proactive and I called the imaging center and I said, yeah, you guys said you need to see me again. And they're like, well, we have nothing in your file. We have nothing on the chart. I'm like, look again. So they went and looked and they said, oh, yes, here we go. Well, we can't schedule it right now. We need to, put things into the system and everything like that. And, we've been understaffed. And they're giving me all these excuses. And I said, hey, put my file on top and I want to call within an hour. I want this thing scheduled. And she's like, okay. And they did it. So they called me and they booked it for a week in advance. They said, come in on Monday at 8:30. And I said, all right. And they said, be prepared to be here for a while. I'm like, of course. And I said, so no urgency, huh? No, not getting me in today or anything? And she said, no, if it was urgent, they would have you come in today. And I said, okay, well, that's somewhat comforting.
Reassuring, yeah.
That they're willing to wait a week to see me. So, of course, now for a normal human being who doesn't have anxiety or concerns of, the bad C word, and not cunt, but cancer, it has been a very long 8 days, because every day you think, do I feel something? You're constantly thinking. And I don't know about you, Paula, but I'm starting to file through everything. I'm thinking, okay, well, if I do have cancer, my whole year is changing. We're no longer doing all these things that we have planned. Now it's a completely different game plan, right? And so I'm going through all these things. Every time I think about it, I start going, well, at least my children are adults. Like, I'm going through all the scenarios, all of them. And so I'm breaking out in tears randomly throughout the week. And Daryl's like, oh, honey. And I'm like, just leave me alone. Just let me be crazy, okay? I've got to get through this. He's like, oh, honey, you're going to be fine. I'm like, you don't know that. You can't say that. No one can say that. That's the problem. It's not reassuring to me. So finally, Monday comes, and I am absolutely sick to my stomach. So I go, and if you've ever had a callback, I don't know what the age range of women who listen to this show, but if you ever get a callback, it is really, the tone of everything is very different. It's not very like, oh, here we go, annual. It's not like that. It's very, all right, let's get this done. Let's see what we're looking at. And they give you all the information. And the woman that gave you my first mammogram was the one that was doing this one. She goes, oh, you're back. And I said, I am. She goes, all right, really cool. She showed me the mammogram in question. I had never seen one before. Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen a mammogram?
No, I can't
Your
say
own?
that I have.
Yeah, well, you're not old enough to have one yet.
Not yet.
So she showed it to me, and there, as plain as day, is this white spot. And she's like, this is the thing. She's like, now it is likely a cyst, a fluid-filled cyst. She goes, but, because when we see something different, we obviously have to really do our due diligence. So she did another mammogram, and this one was way more aggressive. So it's like, she goes, this might be a little uncomfortable. And so she cranks my boob down, and she's like, all right. And then she cranked it one more time. And it was like, seriously, it was so painful. I was like, wow. And I have like a pretty high pain tolerance, except for dental work. So I can pretty much handle anything. And I'm like, wow, that took my breath away. Like, it was pretty flat. I didn't even want to look at my boob, because I was like, I didn't even know boobs could go that flat.
Jeez.
It was not comfortable. But I also was thinking, good, because, I want you to see everything. And she goes, okay, so she said the doctor's going to review these scans, and if he thinks all is well, you're on your way. We'll see you next year. If not, he might want to do an ultrasound, which is a little more, specific. And I said, okay. So you have to sit and wait and wait and wait. And there's this little waiting room. It's right in front of the dressing rooms where you change. And there's another woman sitting next to me, and she's probably in her 50s. And she's got her earbuds in, and she's listening to rap. And she looks like her mother. I was like, and then she starts humming with it too. And I'm like, oh, badass. I mean, who knew? You never know people.
That's
so that
funny.
was interesting while she's looking at a McCall's, pattern magazine.
Right.
But finally she goes, okay, I'm sorry to make you wait. Yeah, they want to look at it again. And I was like, oh shit. And so when they said that, I went, okay, shit is getting real. I'm not just being anxious. Like, this is getting somewhat serious, because now we're getting into phase 2. Phase 3 is a biopsy, and then phase 4 is they take it out.
Yeah.
So I'm halfway through going, holy shit, this is actually more serious than I thought. So I go into another room with another person, and she was really nice. She goes, I'm Pam. And I'm like, hi, Pam. And so she's like, why don't you lay down? And, it's really dark in there, because they're using an ultrasound and everything. And it's the same one they use to look at babies and stuff. And I'm laying there, and she's being super nice, because, they're always really nice to you when things might not go well for you.
Well, sure.
So I'm just laying there, and so she's doing the sonogram, and she's taking a really long time. Like, I'm like, how many angles? And she sonogrammed my boob from every angle. And you're just laying there with your hand over your head, waiting and waiting. And so finally she finished. She's like, all right, I'm going to give these to the doctor and see what he thinks. And then, you'll either be out of here or next phase. So I'm laying there. I'm like, all right. She's like, 5 minutes. So I'm laying there going, okay, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. I'm like, God, this is the longest 5 minutes of my life. Literally 5 minutes, everything can change. That is what it feels like.
Right.
I know I'm not alone. I know there are other women, who've gone through this. So 5 minutes come by. She comes in. She goes, we'll see you next year.
Oh.
And I said, what? And she goes, yeah, you're done. Waterworks. I immediately start crying.
Oh.
And she's like, oh my God. She's like, I know, it's so scary. And she hands me, they have Kleenex in there.
Right.
So she hands me a bunch of tissues. And I don't know what it is about my face, but every time I'm dealing with a medical person and I'm scared or anxious about something, I must revert to looking like a child, because they immediately get maternal and they start hugging me. So I'm standing there and I'm like, really? I'm all done? And she goes, yeah, you're all done. I'm like, okay. And she's like, oh my God. And she comes up and hugs me. She's like, it's okay. It's scary. I've had the callback. It's awful, but it's a cyst that the doctor thinks I've had it for 4 years, like since I started getting mammograms. And it just kind of, because I have super dense breast tissue, which is why they do sonograms and double check everything. And it's, the one woman, she's the first lady, she's like, yeah, it's really great because you have super perky boobs, but it hides stuff. And so that's why they have to do these double checks. So anyway, I'm like, okay, great. So I walk out and I'm like, God, I'm so glad that was so uneventful. Like the end, like, see you later, see you in a year. And that's the end of it. And it was like, wow, that is so harrowing to go through. And it sucks because there's really no way to get around it. You just have to do it. You have to do it. So, I'm so glad it's over. And it was like, I've had, today it's good, but I immediately, of course, I got a migraine.
Oh my goodness.
Well, stress.
Wow.
Stress will
I wonder if it was because it was like close to that time of the month that maybe they were like more swollen or something.
I asked her because I was on my period when I had the follow-up done. And I said, I'm on my period. Is it going to be like, is that going to affect anything? She goes, no, it doesn't. She goes, it'll just be more tender for you, but it doesn't affect a cyst. They're kind of on their own. They're like, the way I akin it is it's kind of like a zit that comes and goes. And she's like, and sometimes they go away. Sometimes they come back. It's the only time they ever do anything with them is if they get really big or if they harden.
Oh, okay.
But it's fluid filled. So it kind of dissipates and comes back. And she's like, it's super, super common in younger women who, are nowhere near menopause. They just kind of show up and then they go away. And we just double check to make sure they don't turn into anything. So I'm like, all right, great. And so of course now I keep looking at my right boob going, do I see it? But you can't. It's like, it's barely the size of an eraser head.
Oh.
It's really small. So anyway, hate it. Being a girl's worse. I'm just saying. And of course, because Daryl is just like all of us, he's like, yeah, I get really anxious when I have to get my blood work done for my cholesterol. And I said,
for God's sakes.
I'm like, you know what? I'm sorry. He's like, I know it's not the same. I'm like, it's nowhere near the same. I go, let's see how you do when you get your colonoscopy. Okay.
Yeah, really.
Then we'll talk. So
that's just a few years away, I think.
Yeah, it is. But it was funny because I don't know how this comes up with hairdressers. You know how that is. Mm-hmm. My hairdresser was saying that he's over 50. And he had one. He goes, if you have a polyp, even if it's nothing, they put you on like a maintenance plan. So you have to go back like every 4 years. But if you have nothing, then you do it every 8 years, apparently.
Oh.
For men. Maybe women too. I don't know. Our mom had a colonoscopy and she had polyps, but I don't remember her going back. But our mom is mostly like, yeah, I'm not doing that again.
Probably.
She's like, it's not that big of a deal.
They got what they needed.
Yeah, and she's like, they literally passed the camera through and the polyps literally like disintegrated. So she didn't feel like it was essential to return in 4 years and get it done again.
Jeez.
Our bodies are the worst. And I just told Daryl, I said, you know what? Why did it have to be the boob? I mean, why? I was already like, I'll get full mastectomies, I'll get big round boobs, and I want my nipples salvaged, and I had a plan for the worst case scenario. It was insane, but I can't be the only one that does that. I can't possibly be the only one that doesn't plan for the worst possible scenario. And let's be real, it happens all the time. I mean, we all know people who have breast cancer or had. So,
well, I don't even know if Stephanie's had a mammogram yet.
Well, she better. I mean, she should. I mean,
or Allison, for that matter.
God, I know. And it's so funny because they say, women with even small breasts can obviously get breast cancer. But I'm thinking, yeah, but it's probably a little bit easier to find. When you have big round bazongas like we do,
right?
It's not necessarily easy. And I don't care what they say. So
it's true. Hopefully. It's like a scavenger hunt.
Yes. Well, when you get your mammogram, I don't know how you are, but I had to do it by myself. And, Daryl's like, I almost followed you. I'm like, why? Why would you follow me? I would be so angry at you if I saw you. I'd be so mad. And he's like, what? I'm like, I don't want that. I can't do that. I just needed to do this by myself because if I'm going to lose it, I want to be alone. I don't want a crowd. So, which is why I didn't tell anybody. I mean, I told you.
Right.
And I told you like 2 days before I was getting it done.
Yeah.
And I did tell Stephanie yesterday because she's like, where is everybody? How come no one's talking? And I'm like, well, I've been out of commission for 2 weeks. I've been unable to function. So now I'm finally feeling back to normal. And I did think about that. I'm like, everybody has to get a mammogram. All of us. We got to do it. You're young. You're almost there, but not quite. But everyone needs to do it. I think Stephanie has had them. I think Stephanie has had one for sure. I don't know about Allison, but she's barely old enough. So
yeah, that's true.
Get your boobs checked, ladies. Please just do it. It's better to know than not know. So remember when you told me that you went to get a physical, speaking of doctors, and they gave you a drug consult instead, and then you rescheduled for an actual physical? You're like, all right, we will reschedule your physical. And then you had the appointment, and how'd it go?
So I went back, and there was some paperwork that went along with the drug consult. Basically saying, like, you're not going to get them prescribed by another doctor, and
you're not going to drug shop. You're not going to shop.
Basically,
yes.
Which I didn't know, but they can run like a report and see like how many different doctors you've been to and like see how many different prescriptions you got. Isn't that crazy?
No, I mean, you've heard about like when Prince died, he had prescriptions from like 8 doctors.
Jeez, that's nuts. But
I know.
Anyway,
but I think it's probably
I don't have
common.
any others.
Well, no.
But I was just saying, like, that's
we
nuts.
just buy them on the street.
Yeah. And so that's just basically what it was saying. And it was just saying, don't take more than you're prescribed and blah, blah, blah. And so it was all this paperwork that I had to go through and sign and all that stuff. So we went over it together with the doctor, and then we both signed it, and then that was it. And then he's like, okay. He's like, well, now that it's on file, we'll go ahead and we don't have to worry about it. It's good to go, and, everything's fine. And I'm like, okay, good. He's like, all right. Well, he's like, I'll have Sharna come back in and reschedule you for another visit in 6 months, and I have you set up with the lab for a screening right now, so if you could just go over there and get tested again. So I'm like, okay. And so
are you a meth head?
Well, so he left, and she rescheduled me for 6 months. I never got the physical.
What are they doing? Are they trying to keep you clean?
I don't know.
Are you a drug addict and they're trying to make sure that you stay clean?
No, and he even told me, he says, he's like, you seem like, perfectly normal. So he says, I'm not concerned about anything. And so,
well, then why aren't I getting a pelvic exam?
Right. I'm like, really, all I wanted was some blood work done, just to kind of make sure, my iron levels were normal and my cholesterol was fine. And so I guess I'll just go back in 6 months and try and get a physical. But
wow, that is so bizarre. It's like, we really don't want to look at your body, Paula. We're just trying really hard to avoid it. Like, what is up? I'd be like, I would be like, I feel really strange begging you to look at my snatch right now, but I would like to get a physical to make sure that I am just perfectly healthy.
And Victor's like, did you say anything? And I said, no. I said it was so comical, and I'd already been there for 45 minutes. I'm like, I knew my appointment was almost over. The allotted
they're not
time. They weren't going to start a physical then. So,
for God's sake, it's like, can I pee in a cup or anything? Like, can I find out anything about myself?
Or when I do pee in a cup, can you check something, see if
other than drugs?
Do I have a UTI or what? I mean, it's just something.
I feel like there's a miscommunication somewhere, and I just don't know what it is.
I think it's the front office girls. I think they keep changing my appointments.
It's just so strange.
Because I originally scheduled it as a physical, and then it kept turning into these,
drug consultation addiction. I mean, what is up?
These opioid paperwork or something.
Is he like a warrior for the war on opioids, and he's going to start with the smallest ones?
No, because he thinks the paperwork's kind of stupid, and so he's just like.
So maybe he's not allowed to touch you until he is sure that you're not trying to get meth? I don't or fentanyl or whatever? I mean, it's a very serious problem, but I just don't see you being the front gate person. I don't understand.
No,
it's very odd.
I was just sitting in the chair, just okay, I'll sign this, and we're good to go. And so,
well, you might want to be a little more aggressive next time and just say, "Look,
I will be."
Yeah, I mean, I get it because it seems very odd, and it's like, and I know the feeling where you're going, so is this it, or what are we doing? I don't want to I'm not begging you for a gown, but at some point,
yeah, right. I want to get naked, and I want you to look at me,
please.
Well, and the problem is I could call back and reschedule it, but I'm in between insurances right now.
Right. So you might as well wait until you have new benefits to go through all of this.
Exactly.
God, do you think he's going to make you go through it again?
No.
You have new insurance?
He will look at me. He will. I will get my reflexes done, and I will get blood
You will look
work
in my
done.
eyes.
And he'll look in my ears and throat. And
I will get the rectal.
No.
Damn it. God, I hate those.
But whatever happens, happens, and I'll get the referral to the OBGYN and
get your ducks in a row, finally.
Getting everything finished.
It's like, I never wanted to go to the gynecologist so badly in my life.
Right.
Please, someone. That's funny.
So,
but yes, yay for doctors. So, I mean, for both of us, I guess being thorough is really the best policy. You never want to be blasé about it. So, I mean, it is good that, if this is all the hurdles you have to go through to get to a doctor, maybe they do this to weed out the less enthusiastic patients. because most doctors, they're full. They can't take anybody. So maybe this is a way to weed them out.
Well, I wonder if the most patients that are looking to get like an opioid medication, if they have to go 2 sessions and fill out this paperwork and discuss in depth with their doctor and everything.
Yeah.
If they don't really want to do that, then they probably just don't show up, or the drug tests that they have to do if there's other things in their system, because they're really not looking to see if you're taking your own medicine.
No, they want to see if you've got
other stuff in there. And they want you to do it that day.
Did you do it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, I have nothing to hide.
No, I know.
Of course, the lab tech that's giving me the pee thing is like adorable, and so I'm just
no!
Great. So I'm like, here's my urine.
Here's my urine.
Sorry, clearly I need to drink more water, but
I always have this problem whenever I have to get my blood, because everybody. If you get a physical, most doctors do blood work just to kind of establish a base, and then you get blood work done every year with a physical. And so every year, it never fails, I always have to comment on their skills. So it's like I'm getting my blood work done and they'll do it. They'll stick me with the thing and I'll either go, wow, that's is that a needle for a giant? Because that felt like you just stabbed me with a sword. Or I go, wow, you're really good. This is amazing. I feel nothing. And I'm incapable of just sitting there quietly and allowing it to occur. I have to say something. It's ridiculous. I'm just unwilling to just let things go peacefully.
Well, it's unpleasant no matter who does what, but
it's not fun. Well, I used to have to go in with Daryl because he would get passy outy.
Yeah,
he'd get real white, and I would have to. I'd have to talk to him and distract him from things. I'm like, why are you even looking at your arm? Like, what are you doing? Just look at me. It's fine.
But he's better now, right? He can do it by himself.
He can go by himself, and he can drive himself and everything.
Wow.
I know. It's so great. But, that's what happens with repetition. So good for him. Oh, so speaking of good for, so you watched the Super Bowl, as did I. We did not watch it together, obviously. No. Neither one of us are. I mean, I know you cheer for the Patriots, which I don't understand, but that they're not necessarily our team. We're Raider fans, and so we watched with the hope of it being a really exciting game, which it totally was.
It was.
Yes, the funnest part actually was afterward. On Snapchat, you can go and look all over the country or the world, really, to see what's going on in different cities. And so we went to Philadelphia. I was looking at Snapchat since Philadelphia. It was insanity. Insanity. It was crazy. I was really happy for them. I'm glad that the Eagles won. First Super Bowl is always the best win. So.
Is that when they were flipping over a car or when they were looting the buildings?
I did not see that part. I did not see the car flip, but I have yet to see a city that gets really rowdy and is alcohol infused not destroy their own town when it comes to sporting events.
I don't know why that happens.
I don't know. It happened in LA when the Lakers won one year. It was funny because Daryl goes, God forbid the Oakland Raiders win a Super Bowl.
Well, Oakland's already a shitty town. I mean, what's going to happen?
It is not a shitty town. But, yeah, interesting. It'll be interesting because if the Raiders do win, first of all, they'll be in Vegas. Unless they win before they go to Vegas. I have a lot of faith that the Raider fans will not destroy their own town. But that's maybe I'm just being really positive. I don't know. I feel like they wouldn't do it, but you never know.
I would hate to be the person on the other team. Yeah. That would be the fear.
Well, a friend of mine who is also a Raider fan, he lives in Illinois, and he went to an Indianapolis game, a Colts game, Raiders-Colts, a few years ago. And he was one of like 3 Raider fans that were in that stadium, and the Raiders kicked their ass, and he had to take off his jersey to exit the stadium.
Jeez.
It was, he was like, I was not interested in welcoming any kind of violence at all, so he just took his jersey off and walked out in his t-shirt because you're outnumbered 100 to 1, so why would you do that to yourself? over football.
Well, why would people do that in general? I mean, that's
because people are assholes. That's why.
It's an unwise. No, I mean, why would he wear that at a? It's an unwise choice.
It's a Raider game, and we won. I would have worn mine, but I would have taken my jersey off too, for sure. But the problem is that Raider fans stand out. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you're wearing a jersey or not. It's pretty clear that you're a Raider fan. But anyway, so did you guys have a good time? Did you make food and all of that?
Yeah, we made like dip, and we had a veggie tray, and we had strawberries and stuff.
Did our niece come over to visit?
Yes, she did. And they were
Excellent.
mostly laughing at us because, we get loud.
Yes,
even though,
you and Ryan specifically.
Yeah, and then...
it was a good game, too, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Did you like the halftime show?
I like Justin Timberlake, and I thought it was fun, but I don't think it was a traditional halftime show.
I think Daryl and I talked about this because, there was a big plan to do a Prince hologram, which I was completely opposed to. As a Prince fan, I think that's sacrilege. I don't think anybody should be a hologram, to be honest with you. I think it's creepy and not necessary. I think that it felt a little directionless because they scrapped the hologram, which I think was going to be the big thing.
Yeah.
So there was no big thing. It was just a big, long performance, which I thought was okay. I mean,
It just seemed like a concert.
It was like, it's fine. I mean, he's talented and it was great, but I think the Prince thing kind of erased the big climax of the halftime show. And so they did the sheet with the video, and then they used he used a big sheet when he did the halftime show a few years ago. Mm-hmm. And so they kind of redid that, and then that was the end of it. I think that kind of made it not as amazing as the halftime show would have been. I think there was personally going to be a huge tribute to Prince, and they scrapped it. And so I thought it was fine. I mean, it was okay. Halftime shows are so overhyped, and then they end up being like, they're all right. The people that can command a live audience always do much better, Yeah. I mean, Prince did amazing. Bruno Mars did amazing. Lady Gaga. Those were really great shows because they know how to talk to live audiences. Whereas if you're just a recording artist, it might be a little bit different. And Justin Timberlake he's done some tours, but it's like, it was all right. I do like him too, though.
And I think actually being a solo artist trying to command a whole halftime show by yourself is really hard.
It is.
Most halftime shows are successful when it's got multiple artists.
Yes, agreed.
But I mean, I had no issue with it. I thought it was good. I just thought it was like a little concert, and he did a good job.
Yeah.
But as far as it being like a typical halftime show, I think it was kind of without, in my opinion.
Yes. Well, it's done now. We can move on with our lives. Baseball season starts any day now. So that's what we're all really excited about.
Yay.
Baseball. You like baseball?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Okay, so time to do our ugly and awkward moment of the week.
Mine is, it's kind of dumb, but we were at the grocery store the other day, and the store was kind of busy because everybody was buying like their Super Bowl stuff. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if we were there the day of the Super Bowl or if we were there the day before. I think we were there the day of, because the Super Bowl didn't start till like 3:30.
Right, our time, yeah.
So we were there buying stuff. Victor was trying to tell me something because we were across the aisles. I was like in the milk section and he was over in the frozen foods, and he was trying to tell me something, and he's like, what about this one? And I looked, and it was like almost $30 or something, whatever it is he was trying to show me. I think it was like shrimp or something.
Yeah.
Just as I was about to yell, $30, this guy walked right in front of me, and he's like, excuse me. And so I shouted in his ear, $30! And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I said I didn't mean to shout in your ear. Of course, Victor's just like, yeah. And then that's when you started flirting with him. I'm like, I wasn't flirting with him. I said, it's not my fault he was cute.
Oh.
You know, I said, I was just trying to apologize for shouting in his ear. It was embarrassing.
Well, maybe you were flirting with him. Who cares? That's funny.
He didn't seem interested at all anyway, but it was just awkward.
Guys are dumb.
He probably was just like, oh, there's this weird couple yelling at each other about shrimp at the grocery store.
About $30 shrimp, and then that's right in my ear. That is right in my ear. It's always nice when you give stories to people to take home and share with others.
Yeah, really.
Isn't it? Actually, you know, that's really funny. We were at the grocery store the day before the Super Bowl, and this is really weird. I don't know if you're like this, but I grow bored at the grocery store I go to. I was getting kind of bored going all the time. Like, I wanted to go to a different store for a while.
Okay.
Do you ever do that?
I mean, yeah, we have 3 different stores we frequent, 2 more than the other one, but
yeah, we have 2 that, well, Trader Joe's doesn't count because we love Trader Joe's, but we can't buy all of our groceries there. And so we go to this one that we've been going to forever, and then we have another one that's closer to us, but it's across the bridge over the river. But it's smaller. And in the summer, it's not as pleasant because there's a lot of people who are going to the river that stop in there.
Oh, God.
And so it gets a little river folky. So it's
a lot
like
of
Walmart-y.
flip-flops and sand.
Like a lot of dirty looking folks. And so it's not my favorite place to go in the summer, but any other time, it's just a bunch of normal humans. And so, the other thing we noticed, in all honesty, is it's very diverse there, which we love. Because we miss the Bay Area where there's a lot of diversity, whereas the other grocery store we go to is, you know, a lot of whiteys.
Yeah.
And not that it's a bad thing. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's just, you know, it's nice to see different people, cultures and stuff.
Typical Orangeville.
Oh, God, please. I just can't even sometimes. So I said, you know, I'm just kind of burned out going to the same grocery store. Let's just start going to this one for a while. So we've been going to this one for a while. It was the day before Super Bowl, super duper crowded. And I was getting mean mugged by some bitch. And I looked at her a couple times, and of course they always have some stupid guy with them who thinks that they're gonna, you know, back her up. And I'm thinking, I am old. Like, I don't want to be in this situation any longer. Like, why is this happening to me? What did I do? And so I'm looking at her, and I'm like, do I know you? Because I was ready to walk up to her because I was already on pins and needles waiting for my appointment for my boobs. And so I was already a little
edgy,
high strung.
Yeah.
And Daryl, who is clueless, and I said, I don't know what's going on. I turn and I go, I don't know what's going on. We're by the deli counter waiting for our turkey. And I said, I know what's going on with these 2 assholes over here, but they keep staring at me. And it's like, I can't tell if they think they know me or if they're giving me shit because I was wearing all Raider gear. I was wearing my Raider hat and a Raider shirt. And I said, so I really don't know what to do about this. And I was wearing my cholo hoops too. So I looked super Mexican. And I said, I don't know if they're racist or if they think they know me. I'm making all of these assumptions. He goes, oh, and he gets real quiet because he's like, what am I going to have to do? Am I going to have to hit someone? Like,
right.
You know, what's happening? So they're talking shit. I go, they're talking shit about me. I can totally see it. So I gave her the look of death, and I feel like I have nothing to lose. So I'm like, yeah, let's throw down in the grocery store by the deli, whatever. So she, of course, averted her eyes because I am not one to back down. I just don't do that. And so, and it's been a long time since I felt like I was going to get into a physical altercation, but I definitely felt like I was going to. And I'm thinking, I'm a fucking relic. Like, I could be a grandmother someday. What is this? So finally she turned around and they walked away. And I said, I don't know what's going on. She almost was brave enough to get in line behind us. And I said, oh my God, please do it. Please, I'm begging. She did not. They did self-check and ran out the door. But I was like, what the hell is the deal with people? Like, what is happening? This is happening. Is it because I'm wearing a Raider hat? Really? Trash. Such trash.
So you never got to the bottom of it?
No, and I made me mad, but you know, whatever. I just was like, I really felt like I was going to punch someone in the face. It really felt that. Like, I felt it happening. But, you know, I don't know if Daryl would have allowed it.
Probably not.
I'm not sure. He would have been like, really, honey, no. Come on. He's like, you're not, I'm sure he's probably thinking, oh God, she's so nuts right now. This is not the time for someone to mean mug her. Please.
Right.
Anyway, so that's not my awkward moment.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. I was piling on to your grocery store interactions.
Yes.
Weird things happen in the grocery store, right, Paula?
Always.
I don't know why, but every time. So anyway, my awkward moment is this. I'm at the mammogram, the imaging center, and when you go, they have these really fancy dressing rooms where you have to take everything off from the waist up and put on their open to the front little crop tops. And so I am emotionally depleted. I have nothing left in the tank. And so she's like, all right, just go in here and, do your business and then come out and wait. I'm like, all right. So the light wasn't on in there, and it's not a normal switch. It's one of those ones that look like little mouse buttons, like when you have a little mouse click button, and it looks like that on the wall.
Oh, okay.
So it's a kind of, I'm like, do I wave my hand in front of it, or do you like press it, or what do you do? So I waved my hand in front of it and nothing happened. And I said, okay, so I think I have to press the button. So I pressed the button and it did like a double click, like a mouse. And so I double clicked it and it went on for like a second and then shut off. And I did that 3 times before I realized that I was turning it on and off at the same time.
Oh.
And I mean, it's a pitch black because I've shut the door at this point, and I'm standing there completely drained of any emotion. I went, you know what? Maybe I'll just do this in the dark because I can't even turn on a light any longer. So I stood there for a minute and I started laughing at myself that I'm in this situation thinking that I'm, could potentially be dying and I can't turn on a light. So finally, I was laughing, of course, and the old lady listening to rap can hear me. So I finally figure out how to turn on a goddamn light switch. And then I look at myself and I look like a nightmare. It was hilarious. And I'm like, well, I didn't include others, but it was the most awkward moment. And I'm like, even in the worst scenarios, I can be awkward, apparently. Even when I'm getting ready to see what's going on with my boob, I can still be awkward. Isn't that nice?
God.
Funny. Couldn't turn on a light to save my life and decided, you know what? I'll just take my clothes off in the dark at this point. I clearly have lost all my ability to function. But I think you win.
Oh.
You included others, you yelled in someone's ear, and then tried to help by flirting.
Well, but that's the thing is I wasn't flirting.
Okay.
Everyone assumes I flirt. I'm like, talking to people is not flirting.
It's true.
That's what I always have to tell Victor. I'm like, I'm just talking. I'm not flirting.
That is true. You're just pleasant. You're just a friendly person.
I'm like, actually, I was apologizing for shouting in his ear. Because you were trying to buy $30 worth of shrimp.
That's a lot of shrimp.
That's what I said.
That is a lot of shrimp.
So.
I miss shrimp. I can't eat it anymore, but I love it. Anyway, yes. So 10,000 points to the socially awkward grocery store interaction.
Yes. And I'll give you 5,000 pity points for
Thank you.
being
Aww.
awkward in the dressing room that you couldn't figure out the light switch.
I appreciate that very much.
You had a rough week.
I did. It can only go from here. Oh, and I got home and got hammered. By the way, I got home around 10:30, 2 hours later, and Daryl had chilled some champagne. He goes, would you like some champagne? I'm like, yes. And proceeded to drink a whole bottle.
10:30 in the morning.
Yes.
Oh, that's nice.
I did. That's right.
Good for you.
It was worth it. It was funny because even the lady, she goes, okay. She goes, so you're going to go home and celebrate with a cup of coffee and a croissant? And I went, yeah, something like that. And she goes, oh, are you going to have some liquor? And I said, perhaps.
That's funny. A cup of coffee and a croissant. How cute.
Yes. Okay, Mom, thanks.
Yeah, right.
And it was funny because Daryl was like, how come you didn't tell your mother? I'm like, are you kidding me? So I could hear the worst case scenarios and have to prepare for my estate? No. Where do you think this comes from? You think I made up this? No. Worst case scenario anxiety is a hereditary thing that comes from our mother. No, I was not going to tell her until I had the all clear. I said, if I had a reason to rally the troops after this appointment, that'd be one thing. But to get her all worked up. I mean, she thought I could have died from my abdominal surgery.
Oh, jeez.
You know, she had a bet. She had a vigil going, if you recall. So no, I will be telling our mom about it, but now that it's all clear, for sure. And of course, I'll tell her, and she'll be the opposite. She's like, "Oh, that's so normal. That happens all the time." You know, she'll downplay all of my anxiety. So
she's like, yeah. Or she'll be like, "Well, you really have to watch that."
Yeah. Well, Jamie Lynn, you might want to make sure you should try to feel for those.
Really have to watch those things because you never know.
They could turn on you in a minute. Oh, geez.
Anyways.
All right. Well, I think that's that.
Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us this week. We will catch up with you on Wednesday, which is Valentine's Day. We have a special episode dealing with most things Valentine's.
Yes.
We want to encourage you to shop our Amazon link and our Avon link, because we have noticed the patronage has dipped a little bit, and I'm sure that was just an oversight. So go ahead and keep shopping those stores for us. We appreciate it. Other than that, have a fabulous rest of your weekend, and we'll see you on Wednesday. Bye.
Bye.
That's a wrap. Thanks for listening and sharing the show. See you next time on The Ugly Truth.
This episode is brought to you by PlayAPod, the best cross-platform podcast app for iOS and Android. Just visit playapod.com and download it for free.